All right, welcome to the Let It Fly show. I am Michael Severe, joined by Josh Jones. See, when I carry this Central Cup around with me,
it makes you smile.
I think of two things.
What's that?
One, purple is a hell of a color. And two, Josh Jones, three-time state champion, and Creighton Blue Jay. What's up, man?
It's hot, bro.
Yo, you know, I hate the heat.
Man.
I can't express to you enough.
Right.
People say this to me, Josh. They go, wait, you're from the South.
Right.
And I go, yeah.
I know.
I hated it then. And now I hate it more.
Yeah, man. I think it's cool, man. I mean, it's that time of year, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the biggest baseball fan. It's easy for me to admit what I don't like, but I am excited for this time of year.
Okay.
CWS is like, ever since I was a kid, man, just the fact that we got it here. I'm one of those locals that's actually interested in what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, the spotlight of the whole sports world in a big way, especially when you have, and we're going to go over this in headlines, especially when you have big-name teams.
Yeah.
People are looking. Highlights are going to be on ESPN. People are going to be tuning in every night to watch all the games. Every night there is a game. Every day there is a game. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. We are in kind of the hub of the College World Series.
We really are.
Let It Fly Sports Bar in the Capital District. I know several teams like Oregon State and a couple others. Murray State, they're going to have their dinners here.
Yeah.
They're going to come rolling in. Fans are going to come rolling in. It's going to be a blast. 2-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
2-year anniversary.
That's right.
Open the first day of the College World Series.
That was an aggressive open,
That was aggressive.
I got to shout out Al Lopez for that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
If it wasn't for him, we probably would have been pushed back.
Al was the man that made it happen.
There you go.
He was the captain.
He
made it happen.
Right.
Thank you to Bud Light, our principal sponsor. They always make it
easy, man.
Easy. Whether you are watching baseball or you're watching the WNBA, which is on all the time.
It's that easy.
And as we get to the headlines, you're watching the NBA Finals.
Right.
Easy to do, Bud Light, easy to drink, and easy to enjoy. Want to tell you about the $4 Red Bull watermelon margaritas,
right?
Which are a very great special here. I mean, you can't beat it.
That must
for $4.
That's still a thing that's popping. That's why we keep talking about it.
Yeah, and funny thing about it is when we first were told about it, that was kind of in the winter.
It was.
This is kind of a summer drink.
It's popping.
It's got watermelon in it.
Yeah.
It's got Red Bull in it.
The crazy part is
margarita.
People were drinking that back then.
Oh, I know. And they're going to be drinking it now. Remind you of all the specials, whether it's Monday with the pizzas or Tuesdays with the tacos or Wednesdays with the
wings.
The dollar wings.
Yeah, my bad. I'm watching games.
Yeah, you watch it. That's fine. There's all. I know. You got like hockey happening over here. You got somebody over here talking.
Yeah.
All that happening as well. Thursday is steak and frites.
Steak
and Friday is the French Dip Friday. Specials are always going on. And remind you about happy hour, which is especially important this time of year.
And then reverse.
Reverse happy hour for you late night owls.
Exactly.
10 p.m. to 1 p.m.
It's going to be
for the specials.
Right.
Be hopping, as you say.
Yep.
This week's guest is Robin Washut, who is I don't want to say old on him, but he is the most experienced cover beat reporter of Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
He's been on the beat like 15 years.
Basically. Yeah.
I remember when it was this little Robin Washut.
Dang.
He not little. He got like 2 kids now and married. He got a life and all that.
You know what my biggest question to him would be? Mm-hmm. In your 15 years, what's the greatest thing you ever learned?
About Nebraska basketball or in general?
About Nebraska
Okay, because the greatest thing you learn probably wouldn't be about basketball.
I'm trying to learn the algorithm.
Yeah.
What do you do? The why,
Yep. We're going to go over all that and go over the portal class as well for Nebraska basketball, which will be very important this year. Look at the headlines. The first headline is not even number 1. It's above number 1. It is set. It is good to go. Canelo Alvarez, Bud Crawford, free. Well, if you have Netflix, 300 million people have Netflix. If you have Netflix, you will get it for free, no pay-per-view. September 13th, in Vegas, streaming live on Netflix. That's big news.
Man,
big news.
You know why it's big news? Because first, I'm happy for Bud.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, if you had asked him when he was a kid, did he think that the biggest fight of his career with the greatest Mexican fighter of all time would happen with him involved in it?
He probably would have said yes.
Yeah.
No, just because he's one of them confident people, man.
It's crazy. It's surreal to me to be from North Omaha.
Yeah.
It's powerful for the state of Nebraska. And I think he has an opportunity winning this fight to go down as – because of his accolades and how he did it, I'll say top 5 all time.
Well, he's one of the greatest athletes in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah, probably the.
Currently, with what he's done boxing-wise, he's pound per pound argument, right?
Yes.
You beat the guy who was pound for pound. Well, probably. So Canelo, I believe, is 2, right? It's Neo, wherever the Korean guy.
But he's the face of boxing.
He's 1, but Canelo's by far the face of boxing.
But you didn't mention he moving up, technically 3 weight classes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's literally 5 weight classes from where we first knew Bud to where he's going to be at 168.
And that's why Pacquiao is one of the all-time greats.
Because of what he did, yeah.
8 division, world champion. Mm-hmm.
You got what Pacquiao did. Before that, back when you had fewer weight classes, Leonard did the same thing, moved up real heavy. And obviously, the biggest one is Roy Jones, going all the way to heavyweight and winning the heavyweight championship. So that's September 13th on Netflix. That news just dropped. We're taping this on a Tuesday. That just dropped this morning.
That's correct.
That's big news. They made that announcement. Very excited for everybody. The headline number 1, as you mentioned earlier, is CWS in town.
Yep.
You kind of have two sets of teams. You got one set of teams that have already been here and done it in the last 20 years.
Like 20, right.
LSU won it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oregon State won it back-to-back. Coastal Carolina won, I believe that was 2016.
Yeah.
Arizona won it, I think that was like 2012. UCLA won it as well.
Yeah.
Then you have another group of teams, just 2 of them.
Yeah.
Arkansas and Louisville have been the finals. They've tried to win it. They've been close. Arkansas was 1 foul ball catching away from winning the College World Series, and the guy didn't catch it.
That's just foul.
And they lost it.
Pun intended.
You have those 2 teams, and then you have another one way down here, and that's Murray State.
And those be the ones that get to the Final Four.
Who?
Those Cinderella teams.
You think they get that? So, like I said, Arkansas and Louisville, I wouldn't call. So Arkansas is the favorite, but they've never won it.
Correct.
And Louisville, I believe Louisville is. They're the 3rd or 4th favorite.
Yeah.
But they have never won it either.
You know, I guess
Murray State is plus 4,000.
I know.
To win. That is a huge number.
Yeah, I know.
And I wish them all luck.
And baseball is different, though. So I think
Hot pitcher.
I just think that I'm more than likely wrong, but it's just I don't know. I just think this is that year, man, where at least they going to shock the world with one team. Put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, getting here, what they did, knocking off Ole Miss, beating Duke. A lot of people thought we were going to get Duke, North Carolina. We got neither.
I know.
We didn't get either one of them. But it goes, so LSU and Arkansas are your 2 favorites.
Right.
Then it's Coastal, Oregon State, and UCLA next group.
Right.
Then you got Arizona, Louisville, and then Murray State way down there.
Correct.
In terms of favorites. That gets underway Friday. It's going to be huge. We'll talk about it, of course, maybe later this week. We may have the Oregon State head coach on. NBA mock draft simulator is out currently.
Where they got Hunter Salad?
So I'm going to give you the guys with local ties.
Okay.
Ryan Kalkbrenner, 28 to Boston.
Yeah, I figured that.
John Tanji, 45 to the Bulls.
Okay.
Ryan Nimhart, tangentially, he is associated with Omaha, obviously, because there's great ties.
He balled, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. I completely agree. I had a good interview every time we had him on. 49 to Cleveland.
Okay.
And then they got Hunter Salas, 53 to the Jazz. That is your draft simulator currently, which does 10,000 simulations, putting all the information in there, needs of the team, what mock drafts are saying, and it comes up with those. So that'd be a good 2 rounds for locally to have those teams.
I agree. I think
players talk about.
Obviously the most consistent is Kalkbrenner.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a hybrid within his position. He can do a little bit more than what his position technically does.
Yeah.
I think Tanjay, he's is what I consider a hard hat guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's grinded to get to where he's at.
Definitely.
Nimhart, I feel like it's a little bit of nepotism. I mean, the spotlight was on him more. His brother's out in
Andrew.
the finals right now.
Yep.
So it's in him. So he just know how to. He had to just stay consistent with the right steps.
Yeah.
Hunter Salas I feel like he's the one with the hoop dreams.
I thought Hunter early in the season.
Yeah.
I thought Hunter had a chance to be like a late first rounder, the way he was playing early in the season.
I agree.
And then it didn't quite go like that. But still, those are your 4 over the course of the 2 days of the draft. So that'll be fun to watch and keep track of them. NBA Finals, 1 up right now.
Yep.
Again, we're taping this on Tuesday. Game 3 is on Wednesday.
Yep.
First game, Indiana's trailing like they always are. They make the rally.
Yeah.
They beat Oklahoma State. Everybody's like, uh-oh. Then Oklahoma State comes out and I will lay this down right here. Whips their butt. Now game 3, back in Indianapolis. What happens?
Good question. I think that it's going to go to 7. So, okay.
Oh, my God. Really?
I think so. This is why, bro.
Okay, I'm listening.
You got 2 teams in the finals that are immature in certain areas.
Sure. They're young teams.
On the big stage.
Yeah.
And so it's bound to have a parity like this. I'm gonna put a pin on that. I got a question. I'm not going to answer.
I'm opposite of you. I think it's at max 6.
Yeah.
I really think it's 5.
And you think OKC?
I think OKC screwed up in game 1. Didn't play Chet enough. They played Chet like 21 minutes. They didn't play my boy enough. Played him like 16.
Yeah.
They just didn't do what they needed to do in that. They fixed it. Blew them out. I think they're gonna
and that's why I was
close win in game 3 and then win 4-5.
I just think that Tyrese Halliburton is better than we all really think.
I hope he is.
I think he's better than what we think.
I think his leg is bothering him. He's got some problems in the lower body. I'm not sure if it's a knee or what, but he's got some problems.
If it's the finals, so he obviously gonna pull through and play.
He's gonna play.
But I think if he don't sink and he swim, I think he's better than what we all. Because I don't know if he's a superstar or not yet.
Well, man, he's got super. You know when he is?
What is he?
When it's the last shot of the game, he's a superstar.
There you go.
So he's clutch. He's hit like 9 of them. It's clutch. Incredible. So yeah,
you think he's a superstar?
Yeah, superstar for sure. Okay. Is he a top 10 player? I think he's around the edge.
But he's an NBA. Okay.
He's a third team all NBA.
Yeah. You know
for
what?
Sure. That's why I think he fits.
I'm going to conclude this.
So between 11 and 15.
He made it to the finals.
Yeah.
He's an NBA superstar.
He's a superstar.
And I just can't get Wally Zerviak out of my head talking about wannabe NBA All-Star. You remember that?
I don't worry about Wally Zerviak. I mean, honestly, best thing about Wally Zerviak was getting dunked on in the All-Star game. When we come back, we will chat with Robin Washut. We'll go over Nebraska Basketball portal. We'll talk about him this past weekend in Lincoln. Man, they had 7-on-7 going on. Trey Taylor was dominating everywhere, the 2027 quarterback. We'll get into all that when we come back with Robin Washut here on Let It Fly Show. All right, welcome back to Let It Fly Show. We are joined by Husker Online's basketball expert, Robin Washut, and also the only guy you can trust when you're listening to the podcast to actually know what he's talking about when they're talking about the NFL. Because all the other two of them don't know anything about the NFL. When they go in NFL conversations, I'm just like, stop. Sid.
It's tough.
Stop, Sid.
You got to bite your tongue a little bit, because you don't want to completely just make it.
Make them seem stupid.
Yeah. But, I got to let them know, because the real fans understand.
Exactly.
I like that phrase.
Real fans understand. There's no doubt about that. That's the way it is. Yeah, no doubt about it. Before we get to the basketball and stuff, so I know you weren't there, but Lincoln was so filled with stuff going on last weekend. Obviously, 7-on-7. Huddle had their huge event. Trey Taylor was running around town being the ambassador to Nebraska football. Obviously, there were recruits in town as well. What does that kind of weekend mean for Nebraska football, you think?
It's a big deal. I mean, even with the way the just shift of recruiting has gone to where high school, there's not as much of an importance as high school recruiting. Like, that's still a stage that is significant for Nebraska, because anytime you get Cam Newton and some of the best 7-on-7 players in the country, like, I was a national tour where it's not just regional players or a couple like good local high school teams. Like, this was the best 7-on-7 teams and players in the country coming to Lincoln, Nebraska, and showcasing all that the university has to offer in terms of facilities, in terms of the fan base and everything like that. So that was an opportunity. Now we'll see what comes with it for as far as, the recruiting standpoint of it. But I think just having that spotlight on Lincoln, Nebraska, on Memorial Stadium, and on Nebraska football, there's a lot of value to that. So it sounds like this is going to be something they're going to try to do every year. And I think that as this starts to build some familiarity, like there was maybe, I don't know, I think Sean said there was maybe like couple thousand people in the stands. May have been a little generous from what I heard, but like, I think as this starts to build and they're able to do it year after year, and people start to understand the teams and the players that are be playing in it, then you'll start to see a bigger crowd. And if they can get anything remotely close to what they got for those Mike Riley Friday Night Lights. I mean, when they had pushing 10,000 people in the stands, the live DJ going, like, I think that has the opportunity to be that type of event, especially with nothing going on in the summer. But we'll see. I think for the first time that they've done it, it was a success, and I think it's only got potential to build further and further going forward.
So around that, let me push this in more.
Yeah, there you go.
So around that, what other things are coming up that can, like, I'm all about stacking moments. That's cool. Now that's gone. They seen the facility. They met coach probably, or whatever that is. What's the follow-up, would you say? Like, what other do you suggest they should bring other events, or do they just go right back to recruiting and that's just their one thing?
Yeah, it's hard to say because, again, like the way that the landscape has shifted, like I don't know how much you want to prioritize high school recruiting anymore when you're taking 15 guys out of the high school ranks, where now there's such an emphasis on the portal. Like you can't devote all your attention to high school recruiting the way that maybe you normally would have 5 years ago.
So that makes sense.
That's different now. But again, I think that this is something they can learn from and grow and build upon, where these types of events, even if you're doing only a handful of them, you can maximize the opportunity that those are. And I think, again, they got off to a really good start. Now it is the next step to that is just promoting it more, maybe getting more of the fans, because that's probably the number one recruiting pitch Nebraska has, is it's the fan base. And so getting that to showcase that for these recruits, they're coming there for a summer 7-on-7 tournament, and there's 10,000 people in the stands cheering for them. They know their name. That has an impact. I know that the shift has all been about money now, but I think that when it comes down to tiebreakers, kids are going to remember that. And they're playing on Memorial Stadium Field, and they're going to remember the autographs, little kids coming up to them. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think can separate Nebraska when it comes to that high school recruiting realm.
Yeah, Robin Washut joining us from Husker Online. I think the kind of next thing with these guys is you got two real big home games. You got Michigan and USC. That's going to be interesting, the visitors for those two games, because those are your chances to bring them into a huge atmosphere. Maybe you get a couple of guys to come back from that to this.
Yeah, and I think the Michigan game for sure is going to be up there.
That's 2:30 on CBS.
2:30. I think they obviously would have liked that to be a night game, but still 2:30. You can work with that.
Yeah.
Kids can still get flights and get there.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Yeah. So I think those are again another opportunity to put Nebraska on a national stage. And right now, with kind of what you're fighting against, with Nebraska just not being there from a competitive standpoint for far too long, you got to show that you're still relevant. You're still there. And I think those are the types of things where you do these things during the summer, but then it's got to carry over into the fall, where you start showcasing all that comes with a Nebraska home football game. And I think that Michigan game for certainly is probably the first one where, the national spotlight will be on that game. And if you have the opportunity without a Michigan head coach, with a freshman quarterback playing his first ever Big Ten road game, the table's set for you to really make a statement.
What year were you born?
89.
And you were born?
83.
So you were 8 the last time they won, and you were at least 14 years old, so you actually knew what was going on. But that's a hell of a long time ago. How long have you been on the Nebraska basketball beat?
With Husker Online since 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I said 15 years. So it's 17 years.
I know. It's been a long time.
That's a long time. And you have covered a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
What is your feel for Bryce Williams? We were going over the mock draft simulator.
We were.
He wasn't in there. He didn't make the mock draft simulator, but I know he's still doing interviews. Thoughts on him having a chance to get drafted?
He's got a chance, and I think the chance is actually getting better maybe than even was a week or two ago, because he's had a couple workouts. I think he talked yesterday after his workout with the Golden State Warriors, and he said that at that point he had done 10 or 11 workouts. He's got another workout on Wednesday with the Dallas Mavericks. So, that's a pretty sizable run where he's getting...
Normally, people don't get 15 workouts.
I know. That's a lot. And so
4 or 5.
It shows that he's got some value to where people understand, and I think the teams that you're going to look to showing legitimate interest in Bryce Williams are contenders. Guys that aren't looking to develop a project over 3-4 years or stash him in the G League. They want someone that can come in and be a depth piece right now. And at 24 years old, Bryce, his window is now. And he's got to make sure that he capitalizes on that. And so I think he's got a chance to get drafted, probably looking at late second round. That's probably the realistic. And if he doesn't get drafted, he's a surefire two-way player where he's going to start out in the G League, maybe to have one more chance in the summer league to make his mark. But if nothing else, you start in the G League and then have the opportunity to work your way up to the pro squad. And again, I think teams like the Warriors, teams that are looking for just that last final piece in the rotation, kind of an end of the bench guy that knows what he's doing. He's reliable, dependable, he's mature. You don't have to babysit him, all those things. Bryce checks every one of those boxes. So he does a lot of things. He's 6'7", he's got a long... Probably, I think I look at some of the criticism about him, it's just defense, which is interesting. I thought he was a pretty good defender.
So
at the Big Ten level.
athletically, they question his defense, or the anticipation, or what part of it?
Yeah, I think just being more consistent. Okay. I think there's been times when he would be a really good on-ball defender, and then sometimes where maybe he'd kind of check out. And I think the times when he checked out was kind of a byproduct of the usage that was on him. When you're working that hard on offense, it's hard to bring it every single possession on defense. So that, I give him a little leeway on that. So I think it's just finer details with him because he's shown the scoring production. He's the all-time single-season leading scoring leader at Nebraska, and he was a first-team all-conference level player. So, I mean, he's done all the things individually. I think now it's about how can you translate your success at Nebraska to the next level and do the things that make you a player that sticks on a roster as opposed to being kind of that tweener.
Right.
What's Nebraska's – so the more you see NIL, the more you learn every team has a culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, from football to basketball, every sport. What's Nebraska basketball culture? Sometimes I don't understand the patterns because I feel like they really recruit undersized, and then they'll have a 7-footer out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Then they'll have some really good core group of guards. Like, what is the culture?
Well, as far as like what they want to be from an identity standpoint on the court, like I look at kind of what they've built right now to where like I think they've kind of gone back and forth. So like 2 years ago when they made the tournament, they didn't have any size. So they had a whole bunch of shooters. They had Casey, CJ Wilchurch, Marcus Lawrence, Rink Mass, like a whole bunch. Yeah, and so they could light it up. Yeah. But they had trouble on the boards and they couldn't defend the post and they had to double the post every time and like it left them susceptible on the 3-point line. So and so like that was kind of a weakness there. And then they kind of think they overcorrected a little bit last year where they went too big. And they got Braxton Mia and Andrew Morgan and had almost too much size and not enough shooting. Not enough offensive firepower to play with the pace that Fred wants to play with. So now I think you look at what they've done, they've got a much better mix between these last 3 years of where they've got shooters. Every player they brought in from the portal was around a 35% three-point shooter, both for the 5 spot to the guard spot. So that was a clear priority, and probably number one priority on their list was improving their perimeter shooting. But they also addressed some size, not only with size but with athleticism. Guys that can play out, that can handle the ball, that can distribute, can shoot. So you look at what the identity is, it's built around Rink Mask. Rink Mask is the prototype of what they want their 5-man to be, the kind of George Niang type guy that can run the floor, that can distribute out of the high post, shoot threes,
spread the floor,
and then that's the thing, create an open lane so that your guards have just make a play. Free space.
I got you.
Yeah, so that's I think what they want to be, and they were offensively where they wanted to be 2 years ago. Defensively, I think where they wanted to be last year. Now I think they got a nice blend of both of that.
Okay. Robin Washut joining us, Husker Online. It's funny, the biggest portal game they got is getting Rink back.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
no doubt.
He's the number one guy.
No doubt.
I want to kind of go over where Bryce kind of ranks in the guys you've covered. And you actually go back a little bit farther than I thought. There are some other guys I could have added, but
some good names.
So you got Bryce McGowan's, James Palmer, obviously we know what he did, Siobhan Shields, Isaiah Roby, who's kind of that guy you were talking about, like 9 to 12 on the bench for a long time, Taryn Petaway, Juwan Gary. There's a couple other guys actually goes back a little bit farther. We can go back to 16, but what do you think about or 06?
Yeah, so with Bryce, he's different than like a Siobhan Shields, because Siobhan Shields is a 4-year player. Bryce was here for 2 years. Right. So like it's hard to kind of contextualize the career paths of both those guys because they weren't here at the same time. But for the 2 years that Bryce was here, he was exceptional. Bryce Williams, to where like not only was he so good last year with his scoring and whatnot, but even 2 years ago, like he was that kind of that multi-dimensional player that. I remember games when, Casey couldn't guard like Bruce Thornton. And so like Ohio State was just having their way with Thornton getting in the lane and scoring at will. They couldn't play Casey. What do? They put Bryce Williams on him. Bruce Thornton scores 2 points in the second half. Yeah. Like, so that's when I think about his defense. Like that's the type of defender that I remember. And I know that he had his issues this past year, but again, I think there's reasons for that. But like, all the things that he did, when you go back to last year, or I guess 2 years ago, when they didn't have a point guard, Bryce Williams was their primary point guard. Right. And so, like, you got to talk about a 6'7" wing taking over their lead guard duties.
Combo guard.
I mean, like, and then being that good of an on-ball defender, being that consistent of a 3-point shooter, and being the guy that can get to the lane, finish with either hand. Like, he did it all. And so, like, Bryce McGowan's clearly had probably the highest ceiling out of all of them, but we didn't get to see it. Like, he was runner-up for Big Ten Freshman of the Year, but like the potential never really played out at Nebraska. So I don't put him in that conversation. James Palmer's probably the closest to me. Petaway was certainly very, very good. But like James Palmer was, I think, on a little bit different level just because I don't know. I just think that they utilized him in a way that was similar to Bryce Williams. And so I'm putting those two probably at the top just because of all the different things they did. And if I have to pick one out of those two, I'm probably going Bryce because I think Bryce was a better defender. And again, that point guard duties that he took over and did so well with when Nebraska didn't have any other options, I think that's the separator for me.
This is kind of like I'm not going to say not so serious question, but I just want to know. I thought that Keisei Tominaga was one of the most impactful players in the last decade when it comes to the Huskers. As an ambassador, as a jersey retirement, is that something that's unrealistic?
Shouldn't be. I mean, just because of how different that whole phenomenon was. Like, there have been better players than Keisei Tominaga. We just talked about a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Right.
But in terms of just the fans embracing one player and the kind of the entire, like, circus that became. I mean, like, you're talking about, like, 7 different media outlets from Japan coming to Lincoln on a regular basis, follow them around like they're shooting a NFL films type thing. It was wild.
I know.
And then like the way that other fan bases like gravitated toward him. Usually like a guy's really good, they hate him.
Yeah.
People loved Keisei.
They did.
People in Illinois loved Keisei. Purdue loved Keisei.
I said I almost had him convinced that there's a real case for that. But hearing it from you makes us feel better about the phenomenon that he was.
He was a phenomenon.
Remember we talked about this in New York.
Right. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so like that's where that conversation would go to. Like, is that enough to put himself in the company of guys that had far more productive careers?
For sure.
I don't know, but like I've never seen anything like what Keisei Tominaga was, especially that season 2 years ago, where every time he had the ball in his hand, people just held their breath.
Yes.
Because he could pull up from the logo and you have a good chance of going in.
Yes.
2 guys that I left out going back a little bit farther is, were you covering when Alex March was a senior?
Oh, yeah.
So
I was in college. I was a Daily Nebraskan back then.
And then Lance Jeter.
Oh, yeah.
Who was one of the most fun to watch. I think that was like 2010.
I remember.
I
played against Jeter.
Those are 2 other guys that probably should have been on the list.
Yeah.
He was, because he was a big physical football player looking guy.
Yeah, no, he was like a fullback running down the lane. And
just wait Westbrook.
Yeah, just daring you to get in front of him.
No doubt. Robin Washut joining us here from Husker Online. Let's talk about the 2025 portal class. I mentioned this earlier. I wrote Rink Mass is kind of the one addition.
And you're not wrong.
You love getting in there, but let's go to Bryce Sanford because that was kind of the first guy they went out to get. Where does he kind of fit in what they want to do based off what you were telling Josh earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I said their number 1 priority was shooting. That's what Bryce Sanford does. Yeah. And I think what they're hoping, though, is that he's not just going to be a catch and shoot spot up in the corner every possession because like I think there's a need for that, but they want and need more out of him in this offense. And so I think they're going to try to get more out of him in terms of his off the dribble work, get him more involved, as far as just movement off the ball. So, like, we'll see kind of what that picture looks like, especially with some of the other players they brought in after him. But he was the number 1 player on their board in 2023, coming out of Waukee Northwest. And they brought him in on a visit. And if his brother wasn't at Iowa, and if his relationship with Matt Gatens, the former assistant coach at Iowa, like if that wasn't so close, he probably ends up in Nebraska. Yeah. So his family grew up Husker fans. Like, so that was a very legitimate scenario where he was going to commit out of high school, end up going to Iowa, comes back.
Yeah.
He took one other visit. So his first visit was to Nebraska right when the portal opened. And then he went to Illinois. And there were some other schools that were throwing a whole bunch of money at him. Right. Washington, who, for those that don't know, has bags.
Yeah,
they got a lot of bags.
They got a lot of alumni. It's a big school.
And so they were throwing money around, like more than Nebraska was. Yeah. But like that connection and that history that Bryce and his family have with Nebraska was enough to get him there. And so like he was the number 1 player for 2 cycles on Nebraska's board. And so they clearly have a lot of hope for him and what he can be. And again, I think it's going to go well beyond just his 3-point shooting.
Yep. Man, that's well said. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Kendall Blue. I put him next just because anytime it's a 6'6" guard, I'm always thinking, I'm not saying it, like Michael Jordan, right? You need to have a guy who's that height to do
he can
That's
guard,
what I always think
rebound,
of. I don't know how
defend.
good the kid is, but anytime it's a 6'6" guard or swing guy, I get kind of excited. What about Kendall Blue?
Yeah, Kendall Blue is the next Michael Jordan, according to Michael Severe.
I put that in there,
I know what you mean.
It was. I ate the whole pizza. It was just,
he can guard the 4. He can switch 1 through 4. He
do
can
all
shoot
that stuff. Defensive player in the Big Ten.
I know what you're saying because like he does all those things. And again, you talk about what they lost with Bryce Williams. I'm not saying he's going to come in and be Bryce Williams.
Right.
Like, I don't know if he's a first-team All Big Ten level player.
Right.
We'll see. But I think he has that ability to him with his size, with his length, and his ability to play. Like, you guard multiple positions. That's probably the most important thing. He can guard 1 through 4, depending on the lineup. Yeah. But he's just tough. He brings that just kind of that workhorse type vibe to him. Like where you watch him at St. Thomas, he was a bully out there sometimes on both ends of the floor where he would, shut down opposing ball handlers while also kind of using that physicality. Good teams. And we all know the Summit's no joke. So he did very well on that league, and I think that there's hope that can translate into this system that, Bryce Williams didn't do a whole lot at Charlotte, comes to Nebraska and all of a sudden develops into an all-league player. I think the hope is that Kendall Blue can have that type of career path. We'll see if it gets to first team All Big Ten, record-breaking Bryce Williams.
Yeah.
But I think he has that potential.
For sure.
Or goes to the number 2 overall draft pick like Michael Jordan. Yeah. Ugnis Yareshevchus.
Nailed it. Nailed
like
it.
that. That's the name broken up.
Ugnis Yareshevchus. No, that's it.
You got it.
6'10" big man out of Central Michigan. Oogie?
Yeah, just call him Oogie.
Oogie's a great nickname. I love Oogie. What about Oogie?
Yeah, so he'll be probably more of a depth piece. I look at him as maybe the backup 5. Like Berke can play 5. I think they have some other options they can do there, but but he'll be probably the primary 5 behind Rink, and he's what, 7 foot. He's got, or maybe 6'10", 6'11". But anyway, he's not the shooter that Rink is by any stretch, but he's got some finesse to him offensively, to where he's good off the dribble, and he's got really good post moves, and he's a good passer. So if there's going to be a drop off between Rink and really anybody in that front court. Sure. But then he brings a lot of the same things that they want out of their bigs, to where you're not just a back to the basket traditional 5 that doesn't leave the paint. Like, I think he can do some different things, albeit not the versatility that Rink Mass has.
Yeah. Here's what's funny.
Yep.
So that guy's got that name.
Yep.
Then they get a guy from the capital of Iceland, Leo Curtis. Just plain old Leo Curtis. Yeah. Not Thor, but just Leo Curtis, who's 7'1", has a little bit of skill. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, so he's a freshman that's coming in, and
I think like a prep school.
Yeah,
kind of thing?
Yeah. So he's an older freshman. I think he's 20 right now. So he's a little bit ahead of the curve physically, but he's. I define him as like an X factor, where like I don't think they're necessarily banking on him being an immediate impact guy this year, but they see him in 2 years, like when Rink goes, like that's your Rink successor.
Right.
Like I think he has that ability to
practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
he looks skillful in tape.
Skill. That's the thing. Yeah. The skill is there. The skill is there for him to play right away next season. What I wonder about, what other people wonder about, just his physicality, being able to adjust to the college game and the American game in a lot of ways, where he's going to get hit in ways that he hasn't been hit before. How is he going to respond to that? We won't know until he takes the floor. But from a 2 to 3 year projection, they are very high on Leo Curtis, and they think that he can be, like I said, that Rink Mass type once Rink finally moves on.
And he didn't pick up the game until he was halfway through high school.
Yeah, he's a younger guy. He's a soccer player.
Soccer at 7'1".
Good luck with that.
He probably was a soccer player at like 5'9".
I hope he was a goalie.
And then he just grew.
Then that growth spurt.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Happens a lot.
Jamarcus Lawrence is back.
Yeah.
Is this an example of what Matt Rule always says? They'll tell a guy something. He gets there. Grass is not always greener. Was that kind of situation with him leaving?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably some truth to that, where he maybe got some bad advice or was told some things that, there are better opportunities. There's some greener grass out there. And, he hits the portal, and it wasn't quite, I'm sure, what he expected. He ended up at Rhode Island. I don't think he had any regrets from that. And honestly, just talking to him after he committed, one of the things that stood out to me was how appreciative he was from that experience. To where, he gets, does really well at Roselle Catholic out in New Jersey, and then comes to Nebraska, kind of gets the spoiled with all the facilities, but then he kind of went to Rhode Island and kind of got humbled a little bit and had to grow up, I think. And so that was an important season for him, just from a maturity standpoint, to where I think he learned some hard lessons, and now is coming back to Nebraska with a much deeper appreciation for the opportunity that he has. And so I think there's a ton of value that goes with a player like that, who obviously played well. He was a key piece to that tournament team 2 years ago. So he understands what it takes to win in the Big Ten and what to get to that level that they want to get to. But then I thought he also kind of has a renewed hunger, I think, about him, to where he knows this is his last chance, and he's got a new opportunity to make the most of round 2 at Nebraska.
You know what he is? Those guys that hit their first shot and they're just on fire. But he missed his first shot, and it's kind of questionable if he's ever going to come back around. It's weird the way that works. If he hit that first shot, he's going to be hot today.
Well, I guess my question is, from a coach standpoint, somebody leave me, man.
I know.
Kudos to coach, because they must have had a great relationship for him allow that to happen. But also he ran the risk of, we might recruit in your position. So for him to be able to come back, you got to know that he's somebody that they're going to value and use for sure, obviously. And I just respect Coach for taking him back.
Yeah, and I think they made it clear that there was no bad blood when he exited. I think there was disappointment, and when he left, it was a surprise.
Because they loved him so much.
Yeah, they didn't think that he was going to leave. He was going to be part of their plan, and then they kind of had to scramble to replace him. And, despite all that, they were able to be amicable enough to where, like, when that phone calls kept back up a little again, like, there was no hesitation on Nebraska's end to take
it seemed like from what you're saying that he probably left with the connotation of what the culture is today. I can just go somewhere else and hoop. Like, I think about Haley Van Lith from LSU and all these other schools she went to. And on the women's side, she was leaving not because she disliked the program. She was leaving to try to just hoop somewhere else to better her situation. It seems like he was like, you know what, I like it here, but maybe I can just play right away somewhere else or a better rhythm or something. And told coach, like, hey, you know what, like, I really don't want to leave here, but I just want to try this.
Good teammate, though. I mean, he got forced into playing point at one point when he really wasn't a point. So I think
not at all.
Hey, try the old school days, which I know when you playing the 4 when you really a different when you really want to play you playing the 5 when you're a 4. So this is one of them.
A lot of guys like that, Robin Washut joining us from Husker on the line. A few more guys. Jared Garcia out of Tulsa. What does he got?
Yeah, so he's an older guy. He's like 24 years old too. So I mean, he's a veteran that this is his last go round college hoops, and I think he's.
I would kill to be 24.
I know. Okay, talk about 24 like we're old men.
Like 24. I'll be 56 next week.
He's got maturity to him. I think he's got leadership to him. Yeah. He's tough. He's a capable shooter, so I think that he can bring that element to where at least opponents have to respect his ability to hit the 3. So obviously he falls in line with that profile. But he's strong. He's not the most athletically dynamic. I think they were kind of hoping to get maybe a little bit more athleticism out of that spot. You remember they were recruiting that Ezra Assar, who was from Utah. That's a freak athlete.
I know.
Could put his head on the rim, just tough, big shoulders. He ended up going to USC for a whole bunch of money. So they had to kind of pivot, and they ended up with Garcia. So he doesn't have the same just physical ability as an Assar, but he has a lot of the intangibles that they want, where he's a grown man. You don't have to worry about him. And I think that culture, you talk about the off the court stuff, they want guys they don't have to babysit. Like, they don't have to worry about keeping happy. They want guys that are here and understanding what their role is, and they're just going to go do their thing, and you don't have to hold their hand every single day. So Jared Garcia is absolutely that type of player, and he's a good enough 3-point shooter that he can be valuable there, and then he's going to bring some of that just size and toughness at that 4 spot.
Everything he's described about to worry about. Will Cooper's that. I don't know a lot of the other guys. I've been watching Will play since he was in 8th grade. I've worked with his dad over at the paper.
Yep. Shout out Todd.
I know Will can shoot. I know he's going to do the right thing. What was he missing from his game that he went to Air Force the first time and then now they want him back?
I think just proven staying healthy. I mean, you remember he got banged up. He missed his last 2 high school seasons with injuries, and then it took him a while at Air Force to finally even get on the court. And then all of a sudden he starts getting regular minutes, hits 7 threes against Fresno State. Then he kind of showed that he can be that kind of dead-eye shooter. You pair just his local connections. Obviously, I go back to when he was going into his senior year of high school. He was at the Fred Hoiberg Elite Camp that they put on every single summer. And so that's 50-ish of the back-handpicked players, the best players in the state and the best players in the region that they're really targeting. And he was one of them. So clearly Nebraska liked him back in high school. And then he finally showed that, 1, he could stay healthy, 2, that he was able to produce, especially with the way that he finished last season at Air Force, and kind of made himself a no-brainer when he became available.
There were times in the AAU he was playing against really good competition. And he would just stand out there and just be shooting people's faces. That's why, of course, Millard South is where he ended up playing. So, high school guys, last one, Quentin Rhymes. Just kind of a bench player? Or you? No. I read an article where you said the more you hear from people is the more you're hearing, hey, watch out for this kid.
Watch out for Quentin Rhymes. Okay. So, he was an under-the-radar player. He was a 3-star, only had a handful of offers. I think Nebraska was the best offer he had when he committed. He visits for the Colorado game last fall and commits, I think, maybe a couple days later. And so, his recruitment and his national profile never really got there because he was already already on the books with Nebraska. But he had an excellent senior season, and he is a guy that just we talk about what Bryce Williams did. So he's 6'7". He's long. He can shoot. He can do all those things. He can defend. And they love his potential to the point where I think he's going to play right away this year. I think he's definitely got that opportunity to see minutes as a true freshman. But when you look ahead to, again, kind of like a Leo Curtis, 2 or 3 years down the road.
That's awesome, man.
I mean, they are very high on him. And I was told by someone internally in the program that he might right now might be the most talented player on the roster.
On the roster.
Really?
I knew you was going to say that.
Wow.
I knew it.
And he's from Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And they have attitude.
Hillcrest.
Yeah, they do.
Vegas kids have attitude.
It can be P. Allen Stinnett, or it can be him.
Good attitude, bad attitude.
P. Allen.
Yeah.
Nice reference.
Well, you know what? P. Allen was athletic, though. He was athletic.
He was. I got to give it to him.
Yeah, his problem was if he just closed this, he'd been much better off. Starting 5 for the Huskers.
Okay.
I got a bunch of names there.
Yeah, mock 5.
Who's the starting 5?
All right, right now, not having seen this team, they just reported to campus on Monday for the first time.
Okay.
Their first small group workouts start on Thursday. So they're just feeling themselves out too. So this is all preliminary. But based on what I know right now, I'm going to go Jamarcus Lawrence, Kendall Blue.
Oh, so Lawrence is starting.
I think so.
Not Connor Seaton's back, right?
I think they're going to bring Seaton off the bench.
Okay.
I think he's going to thrive in that 6-man role.
Okay.
And there's a ton of value. I mean, C.J. Wilcher a couple of years ago.
Sure.
He saved their season in a lot of respects.
Yep. And it was better for him to come off where he came from.
Yeah,
100%.
So, I mean, he could start, but I think Jamarcus is the better defender.
Okay.
So, I think from a game-to-game, he's more reliable.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to go Jamarcus. I'm going to go Kendall Blue. I'm going to go Bryce Sanford.
Right.
I'm going to go Berke.
And then Rink Mass.
Okay. Now, Berke.
When's the last time Berke hit a 3?
Oh,
he hit one. 6?
No, he hit one in Vegas. He hit one in Vegas.
I've never seen somebody go that cold from the 3.
I know. It was incredible.
I've never seen that before.
He had that ankle injury against Ohio State when he had a double-double and was like one of the biggest X factors in that game, and then was never the same player. And it's all mental with him. So, I think the ankle was part of it too, but he was dealing with confidence stuff even before that injury. You should go back to the beginning of the season. Like, he just kind of looked uncomfortable. Didn't look like he could find his niche, and then he finally started to get it, gets hurt, and it never found it again. But he's a guy that I think he understands what this season means for him. Because go back to when he committed to UCLA, people were projecting him as a draft pick. Like, after his freshman year, he was still being put in as a second-round pick. So, he's got NBA potential to him, and people think of him as an NBA player. He understands that the time is now, though. If you have another kind of off and on year, that stock's only going to keep falling. So, he's got that drive to him, and he went back to Turkey for a little bit, but everything, so I follow him on Instagram, and every day he's posting workouts, like working out on a track, doing all sorts of things, and noticeably, he slimmed down. He was a little, from a basketball standpoint, pudgy. He's not anymore. And so, I think he's playing himself into more of a 4, where he's not going to be that 4-5 hybrid. I think he's going to be more of a traditional stretch 4. Yeah. And that's going to help, I think, help him find a home, help him find a role in the system. And if he can be the type of player that everybody thinks that he can be, for sure, that might be the biggest X factor on the entire team. Because at 6'10", who can rebound like that, who has the offensive skill set, especially when he's playing with confidence, there's not many guys like him out there.
So Lawrence, Blue, Sanford, Rink Mass, and Berke. That'd be a lot of size.
It will be.
That's the short. Obviously, Lawrence is 6'1", whatever, but 6'6", 6'7", 6'10", 6'10". It's a lot of size.
Yeah. Lawrence guard's bigger than his size too. I mean, he showed that a couple of years ago where he was one of their best on-ball defenders 2 years ago.
Yeah. Give us a prediction for the season. I know we're talking in June. It's June.
So I'll point to this. You look at some of the preseason analytics out there, like Bart Torvik. Yeah. He's one of the most reliable guys out there. He's got Nebraska at 40th in his preseason nationally.
That's pretty good.
So I mean, that's a tournament team right there. However, he's also got them 12th in the Big Ten.
I was going to say between 10 and 12.
Because the Big Ten is so loaded this year across the board with the money being spent on basketball right now. The rosters are as good as they may have ever been. Right. So Nebraska's competing against that to where they have probably one of the better teams Fred's assembled. In terms, I talk about having that mix of defense, offense. I think they've checked a whole bunch of boxes this offseason. And if Rink can be all-conference Rink, they're off and running. But that's a grind in that Big Ten. When you're playing 11 other teams that are ranked ahead of you, that's tough. Yeah. So it could be a deal where they're better, but it might not necessarily reflect on their record. I think that they're still going to be good enough to be on the bubble, probably like last year, where come mid-February they're going to be in the conversation. First 4 in, first 4 out, next like that. They're going to be in that range. Can they win those games? Those tipping point games where Minnesota comes to Lincoln. Can you beat them this time? Can you beat Iowa at home when their season's over? Those are the types of, that's a separator. It's so can this group win those coin flip games that last year they lost far too many of them, and it spoiled their whole season.
Yeah. Sounds like you're talking about Nebraska football.
Yeah, just copy and paste that for pretty much every men's athletics.
What's a better route for the Husker basketball team? A tough non-conference, build some confidence, or build confidence with low or mid-major wins?
That's a great question. There's a lot of different philosophies on that. I think just given what we talked about with the Big Ten, like you don't need to overschedule in the non-conference because
the schedule.
But you can't just go 11 bye games to where you're 11-0 and you haven't played anybody, and then you're welcome to the real world in January. Right. So like they've got to be able to test themselves, and so. I'm intrigued by this schedule because they're playing the Kansas City tournament, the Hall of Fame Classic against.
I think I'm gonna go.
3 other. Yeah, I'll be there. Well, at least for one of them because we got to go to football because that Minnesota game.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, because Minnesota game's Friday night.
You might
one
be
of
right.
the games.
You might be right.
I can't remember. Anyway, so there's maybe Penn State. Anyway, they have that game, so they're going to play maybe Mississippi State, Kansas State, and New Mexico, all like borderline NCAA tournament teams from a year ago. So that's a good challenge. And then they're going to go to Sioux Falls and play. I'm blanking on the Sioux Falls opponent. Why can't I think of it?
Oh, damn, I know that too.
Sioux Falls. Anyway, playing another high major in Sioux Falls.
Neutral site, high major game.
Yeah, and I think that Sioux Falls game is just going to become a yearly deal.
Yeah, because Nebraska fans go and they sell the damn thing out.
Why can't I think of it?
Right.
Anyway, you look that up.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I should know this. And then they did enough to Oklahoma. Thank you. So Oklahoma.
That's somebody we know.
Oklahoma.
Somebody we know.
Oklahoma's like a top 10 portal class this year too. So like they're going to be a different group.
Okay.
So I think that gives yourself 4 high major potentially or NCAA tournament level opponents, and then you scroll up to the top of that, Michael. That exhibition against BYU.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like a no.
They're loaded.
They got the
they're
best
a top
players.
fighters. AJ Debantia. Yes.
I can't wait.
Yes, the $7 million man.
I'm going to get to see what he's like.
Yeah.
But it actually gives the Huskers a chance to like get a taste of just him alone.
Yeah.
The Huskers to see every night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right out of the gates, October 18th, they're going to play against one of the best teams in college basketball, against the number 1 player in the country in the 25 class.
So this ain't no little rinky-dink schedule.
No, but like that way they get that test without any consequence to it, right? So like unless they lose by 40, and then all of a sudden
you got to start questioning.
Build some morale back.
Go.
Yeah. But like they're going to get that taste, and then obviously they got the Creighton game. So I mean, like that's I think plenty.
And Creighton got a good class too.
Yeah. So I mean, Creighton's Creighton. And so, like, you look at the non-con, they've, I think, challenged themselves enough in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
They're going to play Creighton at home. They're going to play some neutral site, and they're going to have the big exhibition. But they're also scheduling enough to where they give themselves the opportunity to build that confidence, and try some things out. We're talking about all these questions with the lineup and the rotation. Like, that's what those early games are for.
Right.
To where you can figure out those things, learn some lessons in wins.
Yes.
So 2 years ago, they had a light schedule. They beat everybody they were supposed to do, and they did so by double digits every night.
Yes.
And it was more than good enough to get them in the tournament.
Right.
So, like, I think they're trying to follow that game plan where you have a balance of enough winnable games to figure yourself out and chalk up some wins while also playing, challenging yourself a little bit to where it's not this complete shock once you enter league play.
Because if you think about this, man, how is Creighton going to do in the Big East? How is BYU actually going to pan out with the number 1 player out of high school? And then Oklahoma making a run. That will help Nebraska when it's tournament time.
Sure.
The last time BYU came in with a good player, Creighton shut down Jimmer.
That was Josh Jones.
Shut down Jimmer.
They shut down
Josh Jones. Jimmer for decades
I was a part of that
down.
And then he had 56 on my boy.
Oh,
Wes Eichmeyer, Greg Smith, the Nebraska boys.
Robin, man, we appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we appreciate Robin Washut stopping by, talking about a bunch of things. It's funny. Nebraska basketball, and we talk about this all the time, right?
Uh-huh.
It's never won a game in the NCAA tournament. All right, okay? To think about that.
Yeah.
Over the course of 100 years.
I know.
And legitimately 75 years of having some sort of tournament, or at least 46 years of having this type of tournament.
Right.
Out of all of that, not once did you accidentally fall into a win.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know.
It's just nuts to think about. It's so improbable.
I know.
It's so improbable, but that's where Nebraska basketball sits.
Yeah, man.
That's where they sit, man.
It's tough, bro, because they really got the antidote, but we got a football team.
Listen, there's no excuse.
If they put some money,
there's no excuse now. There's no excuse now.
No,
with the fact that Nebraska ball has been down, and you got the sharing going around with the money. Yeah. You have a chance to do some NIL.
Yeah.
They've had a chance to go out and get some portal guys. The last portal class was pretty good.
I know.
We'll see about this portal class.
Yeah.
But there's no excuse. You get in a tournament and win a game.
Dang.
They're almost better off going in as a play-in team.
Facts.
Like as 11 seed and doing that. They're almost better off that way. Yeah. You know? Thank you very much to Robin Washut. We appreciate that. Thanks to Caleb for sitting in and producing the show. Thanks to Mike Allen for being the general manager here.
You,
everybody who's a part of this, we appreciate them. And, of course, our sponsor, Bud Light, who makes everything
easy.
I'm telling you, if it's baseball,
it's easy.
They make striking out easy.
Yep.
If it's basketball, they make shooting the corner three easy.
Right. All you got to do is just crack one and just watch.
If it's bowling,
it's easy.
They make the 11-10, 9 split, whatever. They make that easy. They make everything easy. That's Bud Light. Easy to drink and easy to enjoy. And remember to like and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe button, hit the like button, helps us out. And wherever you listen to the show, do the exact same thing.
Correct.
Of course. Take us away, Josh.
Hey, Josh Jones here with Michael Severe. You know how we do it. It's a Let It Fly show.